Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Wanted to get on here today to talk about diet. I had a request to do this several weeks ago, and I kind of been nervous about it because diet is so huge, and I don't want to get on here and talk for 2 hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up into sections so you can listen to what you're interested in. I'm going to talk about my history with dieting. I'm going to talk about what I try to follow. And I'm going to be honest about where I am right now. Because we all go up and down with our diets. Sometimes we're doing, and I call it a diet. This is a way of life. This is a way of eating, but I'm old school from the 80s when we called them diets. I've been on it since seriously 1984, maybe 1983, and it just evolves. It just changes. My history with diet. I have been dieting since 1983. Not always the healthiest. I will be honest, in the 80s, it was not healthy, but there are reasons for that I now know. In the 80s, everybody was trying to do low fat, which is, y'all, I lived on pasta for 10 years, lived on it. It was pasta. I'll tell y'all what I ate. Pasta, I would put Parmesan on it, melt it in the microwave, pour some ranch on it. Y'all, I thought that was healthy. That is what I ate for 20 years. Literally. Because I was a newlywed, we were broke, and that was cheap. Pasta was cheap. It was that and hamburger. My budget for my groceries was $50. But I digress. I lived on pasta. So I now know that is horrible for my blood sugar. That is horrible for cravings. I was constantly white-knuckling it, trying not to binge. It was horrible. I constantly had cravings. I thought that we call it the Martin stomach, because my mom's side of the family struggles with stomach. That is where our issue is. Some people are apple-shaped. We are apple-shaped people. Some people are pears. Well, we are apples. And we called it the Martin stomach. And I was like, I'm going to have the Martin stomach early. Well, turns out I was living my life bloated. My whole life, I lived bloated. I can remember in junior high being mad that my stomach was bloated. It was the foods that I was choosing. That went on. And I'm just going to be real with y'all. In the 80s, from the time I was 15 until I'm going to say my early 20s, I had an eating disorder. And it started out closer to anorexia, not eating much, but it ended up in bulimia. I went through counseling for that. And at that time, a counselor told me, I will never forget this, y'all, because it came back to me. She said to me, you have an allergy to sugar and white flour. This was in 1980, I want to say 1986. She said, you have an allergy to sugar and white flour. Well, y'all think back to where we were in 1980. If you were alive then, I may have some young subscribers. But if you're in my age bracket or older, think how you were eating. Think what your goals were in 1986. My goals were low fat, no butter for years, egg whites, trying to stay off the red meat, eating very lean, not much fat, very high carb, and feeling pretty good about that. Well, this is when I was in treatment, and my counselor, she said, you're allergic to sugar and white flour. And I was like, what? That's probably how I looked at her, because I was a teenager. What? I do not have an allergy to sugar and white flour. I didn't say that. I just was like, oh, okay. And then went on my way and thought, she's crazy. Well, let me tell y'all when that came back to me. I went on my way, still struggled with that eating disorder. I struggled with that for about 10 years, till my late 20s. Well, I had my daughter when I was 30. And after I had her, I was trying to lose my baby weight. And this is my turning point, y'all. I went on Atkins. I am not on Atkins now. I am not a low-carb advocate. So I just, want to get that out of the way. But this was 1998. Atkins was taking I mean, it blew onto the scene. Atkins, protein power, zone. But I started with Atkins. I was trying to lose about 15 pounds of baby weight. Me and my sister-in-law decided to go on Atkins together. So I went on Atkins and I felt great, y'all. I felt amazing. My daughter had colic when she was teething. I don't know if that's the same thing. She cried all the time. And I would get up with her at 4 o'clock in the morning. And when I was on Atkins, I had so much energy. I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, get my precious baby. I wish she was still a baby, y'all. I miss her. She's 18. Anyway, she'd get up and she was crying. I would put my precious girl back to sleep and I would work out. I had that much energy. 4 o'clock in the morning. Probably had been in bed since like midnight because she was crying all the time. Would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, had so much energy I would work out. The firm. That's how I was introduced to weights. I would do the firm or Kathy Friedrich step in my living room in Albany, Texas. And I would work out. I had so much energy. Okay, but my sister-in-law went on Atkins with me and she crashed. This is where I want to say this diet is not for everybody. My way of eating is not going to be what works for you, but you can probably tweak it because I have a very general diet. Like I said, I'm not on Atkins now. But this was the turning point, y'all. This was where I realized, oh my gosh, I feel great. All of my bloat went away. I didn't have my Martin stomach anymore. It changed my entire body. It changed my face because my face had always been puffy my entire life. I thought I just had a fat face. My face changed. My arms slimmed down. My entire body changed. And I realized my cravings went away. Now, you can't stay on Atkins. And this is what I learned. You can't stay on Atkins, and Atkins doesn't want you to stay on that initial 0 carb. Again, not advocating the Atkins diet. After the Atkins, I went off and on. I went off of it and I would feel bad. And so I would go back on it. And then I would stay on it as long as I could until my body needed carbs again. And then I would get off of it. So I kind of yo-yoed with the Atkins for a while. And I really, really started thinking, okay, what can I live on? Because that's madness. You're up one minute, you're down the next, you're bloated one minute, you're not the next, you're whacked out. So where I've ended up is where I am now. With the diet I'm going to share with you, my way of eating, I do not have cravings anymore. And I told y'all I had bulimia. I had bulimia because I couldn't control my cravings. If somebody sits down and eats a piece of cake, I don't get that. I can't sit down and eat a piece of cake. I only eat cake if I'm prepared to eat half the cake. I only eat a cookie if I'm prepared to eat most of them. I only eat a donut if I'm okay with eating 6. Because my body can't handle sugar. That counselor was right. I don't know if it's a food allergy, but it's a sensitivity to sugars. I have a lot of rules for myself. Not everybody's going to want to be that strict with themselves, but with my history, I have to be strict with myself because my body's so sensitive to some foods. If you don't have to be this strict, make it your own, or don't even do this. You don't have to do it. This is just what I'm doing. Okay, I made myself some notes. I'm going to say my main thing I do that I have stuck with since the 80s, it's never gone away and it's never going to go away, and I love it. I count calories, y'all. I haven't heard anybody talking about counting calories in forever. How I manage my calories, I write everything down in a journal. I have all my journals like from the past, I'm going to say 10 years at least. Everything I eat, my workouts, how I'm feeling, how that affected me is in my journal. I do a calorie average. If I want to have a cheat day, I have it, and I do not feel bad about it because if I eat 2,500 calories in a day, I'm not going to sweat that because I will come back for the next 2 days or 3, whatever it takes to meet my calorie average, and I eat very low. And on those low days, I will say those are probably my healthiest days because those are the days that force me to eat vegetables. I have to eat straight running vegetables, like green. And it's so hard, but it's so, my low days, those are good days. So I calorie average, I write everything down in a journal, and I average it out. Now, I really am not going to tell y'all what my calorie average is because it's so individual. What works for me is not going to work for you. What makes me gain weight or lose weight, you can go 500 calories more than me, or you might have to go less than me. It just depends on where you are, and it kind of changes with my workouts. If you decide to start keeping track of your calories, which I believe is a very healthy practice. It's like weighing yourself. It keeps you honest. This is like the Weight Watchers point system. It is, the points, they're averaging you out. Now, I've never studied the point system, so I may be wrong. If any of you know better, correct me. Whatever else I'm doing, if I'm eating cake and donuts and pizza and making really bad food choices, my calorie average still has to be on point. Fine. You want to eat a hamburger, sister? Go eat a hamburger, but you better make your calories average out. And if you have a super high day today, you're going to pay for it tomorrow. But see, y'all, I kind of punish myself. Don't be mean to yourself. Love yourself. Okay, I'm going to tell you, with the calorie average, I follow that 99.9% of the time. My next thing that I try to do is no refined sugar or white flour. If you listened to my history, you understand why. It is poison to me. Sugar is poison to me, literally. It wrecks me. So I really try to not have refined sugars. And I'm going to say, up and down, but at this point in my life, and for the past 5, since 2012, y'all, my refined sugar habit has been under control. If I have a cheat day, I get right back off of it because it just wrecks me. So no refined sugars or sugars, especially the white flours. I toy with that a little. I'm going to say I do no refined sugar 99% of the time. No white flour, probably 90%. It doesn't do me in like a sugar will, a straight cake, cookies, donuts. No, that whacks my blood sugar out and really sets me off. But the white flour, I can do a bun. I mean, I can do a hamburger, I can do a turkey burger, but I can't do pasta. That's something that is very personal. Okay, protein. I make sure that I have protein with every meal. If I have a snack, I make sure it has protein in it. I'm not obsessive about it. I don't count my protein grams. I do not get my protein from powder. That may be fine for you to get protein from a protein powder. I am stocked with protein powders. My body can't handle them. So I personally don't get my protein from a drink. I get them from Whole Foods, which is what I try to do. I try to get my diet from Whole Foods, as close to what my grandmother would eat as possible. Thinking back to the 1800s, could they eat this in 1800? No, then I'm not going to eat it today. Now that's my goal. I follow that about, let's say 75% of the time, 70% of the time. But that is my ideal, is to eat like they ate back when we didn't have all these processed foods. Eat as close to natural as I can. That's what I try to do. So I try to get my protein from a natural source, an animal source. Now, if you're a vegetarian, I'm sure you're a pro at getting your protein from good sources, tofu, and the vegetables that have more protein in them. So I wish I could join you, but I cannot. So I get my proteins from meat and eggs. Okay, and then I shoot for 5 fruits and vegetables a day, with an emphasis on the vegetables, because I can eat 5 fruits, y'all. So I shoot for 5 fruits and vegetables, with 3 to 4 of those being from vegetables. I'm going to say I follow this. Okay, I'm going to be real with y'all. 30% of the time right now. I'm so bad. And you know what? I'm going to get better. If y'all are going to try to do that with me, then we're going to be working on that together. Vegetables are a struggle for me. I go up and down with them. But I still feeling good because I have my calories under control and I have my sugars under control. My sugars are good because I'm still, I've found ways around the vegetables. I found ways to not eat them. My skin will thank me when I start eating more greens. Okay, I get good fats. Healthy fats are very important to me, and I, right now, eat more healthy fat than I ever have in my life. That's how I'm getting around the vegetables. I eat nuts a lot. Now, I'm careful with how much I get. I'll get like a little handful, which is probably 150 calories. If I get a handful of nuts, which is probably like 200 calories, I count it as 100. If you're doing your calories, I count nuts as 100, a really big handful, I count as 150. It's probably closer to 3. Okay, getting good fats is not a struggle for me. I do it 100% of the time. I watch my carbs. I don't count my carbs because I can feel through trial and error what I need. Every morning, to be sure that I always get some carb in my diet, every morning, I either eat a fruit. If it's a low sugar fruit, I eat 2 of them. Or a piece of whole grain toast. Because then no matter what I do the rest of the day, I have got some carb. I have got some sugar in my system. At dinner, I be sure to put a grain in there. I am sensitive to that, so I have to be very careful with my portions. I either eat cracker, pita chips, a turkey burger with a bun. You know how we used to think about fats? You just had a little bit of it? That's how I do my carbs. I do a big portion of the vegetables, which is some carbs, maybe a tiny fruit at night, and then a small little portion of crackers, bread, a small portion of the carb, but I do get the carb. If I'm going to have simple carbs like breads, I do it earlier in the day so it can be gone when I go to bed. And that is a weight issue, not a health issue. That is just me personally to keep my bloat down because I bloat so easy. We are apples in my family. So to keep that stomach down, I eat my carbs earlier in the day. If I need a carb load, like I can feel my sugars are kind of low, I will do some carb loading. But I try to do it earlier in the day. Now I would say that I follow that about 97% of the time because I do have those days where I'll eat pizza. This is a big one. I don't drink my calories ever. Like, I'm going to say I follow this 99.5% of the time. I don't drink my calories. I don't drink them in smoothies. I don't drink it because the fruit, if you blend up a fruit, I feel pretty confident saying this. If I blend up my fruit, I feel like it goes into my system faster. I don't blend it up. I don't want that sugar to go into my body any faster than it would if it was a whole food with the fiber intact. Our grandparents and great-grandparents did not blend up their fruit. So neither do I want to do that. So I don't get it in smoothies. Not saying you shouldn't. I tell you the smoothies I do, I have an exception. I do have an exception. I go to Jamba Juice, and they have a green smoothie. Now, some of their green smoothies have too much fruit in them for me, but there's one called Veggie Vitality, and it has all green, has some carrots, and it has an apple. I don't drink Cokes, y'all, ever. Not diet. And I'm going to tell y'all why in a minute. The same goes for Starbucks. I don't like to drink my calories because I calorie average. I'm stingy with my calories. I want them in food. And occasionally, I would say more than any, in liquid form, the only calories that I drink are if I have a cocktail. And I limit myself to one night a week. Sometimes I'll have a cocktail, a skinny margarita if we're out, or I like the vodka. I mean, I'll have a vodka soda, or, the flavored vodkas with water over ice. I'll put fast food in here. Fast food, I'm going to say I stay off of fast food 99% of the time. I don't eat much fast food. If I'm going to eat fast food, I eat Subway. I just don't eat a lot of fast food. And I know how to eat out. That's going to be a topic. I'm going to write that down. How to eat healthy eating out, because I could eat out every meal and eat healthy. I just like my own food better. I like what I have here better, and I'm going to show you some of the things I'm eating. It's delicious and easy. So I just eat at home most of the time. I'm going to tell you a story. I don't care if it's wordy. If you don't want wordy, skip over this. When we moved to my town, I went through, we weren't living in an apartment while we were looking for a house, and the housing market here was horrible. So living in an apartment, and I was living on fast food. And I went to a thyroid doctor, and she ran my numbers, and she said, "Do you drink?" And I said, "No, never." At that point, I never drank. I said, "No." And she said, "You either are close to an alcoholic or you are living on sugar." She said, "Your liver is borderline fatty." And I said, "I don't drink." And she said, "Then you are living on sugar." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Okay, I want you to go away for 2 weeks, eat as healthy as you can, and come back." See, they're 2 weeks or a month. So I went away and I lived on chicken and vegetables and a little bit of fruit, which is what I'm still doing now. And I went back, they ran my numbers again, and she came in the room and she said, "All your numbers are normal." That is how much, y'all, that affected me. It made me realize how it will wreck you or make you better. And that fast. I'm wanting to say it was 2 weeks. I know it was over Christmas because I had the holidays and I was nervous. I was like, I have a fatty liver. I'm going to have some kind of disease. But I went back and everything was normal. I focus on fruits and vegetables, eat meat, nuts, fruits and vegetables, healthy fats, and then add in a little bit of grain like we used to add in our fat. Just a handful. Okay, water. I drink water all the time, y'all. I have water with me all the time. I mean, there's really not a lot to say about that. We all know it's good for us. It's kind of my oral fixation. Like, I always have, in my hand, I always have something to drink. I carry it with me everywhere I go. It's just kind of, it's just what I do. And I drink it out of a Yeti because I used to constantly drink out of a plastic water bottle, and then I thought, why am I drinking out of plastic all the time? So I've kind of tried to cut down on that, drinking out of plastic so much. I even take this to the gym. And I talk like I'm at the gym all the time. I'm really not, y'all. I'm really not. And then coffee. Coffee's huge to me, but that is just because I love coffee. I love it. I've loved it since I was a teenager. And I have 1 cup of caffeine. At this point in my life, it's all I can handle. It's all my nerves can handle. I have 1 cup in the morning. If I'm going to have any more caffeine, I wait and do it like at 4 o'clock. And honestly, only if I'm working out at night. Again, that does not happen very often. I'll have a cup of coffee before I go work out, like at 4 or 5. But the rest of the day is decaf. I mean, I stay stocked in decaf, and I drink it with powdered cream or as much coffee made in it as I want, because I figure I'm so strict with my calories. I'm not gonna worry about the coffee, so I put whatever I want in it. I put full sugar in it for my 1 cup of caffeine in the morning, and then the rest of the day I do sweet and low, which brings me to NutraSweet. I don't use any. Is that also aspartame? I don't use anything with NutraSweet. If it says contains phenylalanine, I don't have it. I don't chew gum. I used to chew gum constantly. I don't chew gum anymore, unless it's from the health food store, and they have one with xylitol in it, XYLITOL, and I trust that pretty well. But I try not to do a whole lot of sweeteners. In my decaf all day long, I do sweet and low, because I trust the old school stuff better than the new stuff, which I don't guess NutraSweet's that new. But that's why I don't drink Diet Cokes. And I used to drink like 2 liters a day in high school of Diet Coke. I will occasionally get the Splenda Cokes because I trust Splenda more than I do the NutraSweet. That's just me though, y'all. I don't completely trust the Splenda, but I will use it. And that's just something you'll research for yourself. But for me, that's what I do. So I keep Altoids is what I keep now. And then, I know y'all have probably, most of you have seen intermittent fasting around YouTube. I actually kind of do intermittent fast, but I don't mean to, and I don't strive for that. I try not to eat too much too late, and the later it is, the less carb it's going to have in it. Like if I'm eating late, like last night we got home from a concert, and I had not eaten, and it was like 9:30, so I had an Atkins bar and a handful of nuts. Because at that point, it's, what's the point? I'm about to go to bed anyway. So the later it is, the less carb it has in it. I try to eat my last meal between 4 and 7. And then I get up the next morning, and when I'm going to the gym, I like to do fasted cardio, which is it's more of a workout topic. So I don't end up eating my breakfast until 10:30, which is really when I'm happiest. I don't get hungry till about then. 10:30 or 11. Sometimes I'll have a handful of nuts and some almond milk earlier in the day, but 10:30 or 11 is usually when I eat, and that does constitute an intermittent fast. Y'all, I wish I'd written that book because I've been doing that since 2012, and I was like, hey, I'm intermittent fasting, and it does make me feel real good. I feel real good on that. So that is just a real individual choice. If you're interested in that, I would research it. Check with your doctor. A lot of people cannot do that. And some days my blood sugar won't allow me to do that. A lot of days I have to grab nuts, and I keep nuts with cocoa on them for that sugar if I need it. So, yeah, and one more carb that is pretty central in my diet that I have not mentioned is beans. I'll eat beans. I eat beans and a lot of things I cook, which I'm going to share recipes with y'all. And I would love for you to come back and give me some of yours too, because I am not creative in the kitchen at all. Things that I tell myself, if it's good for my skin, I can have it. If it's good for my skin, it's good for the rest of my body. I've told myself that for about 20 years. I might have read that in a magazine. If it's good for my skin, I can have it. Eat like my grandparents ate, which if you were a young subscriber, that could be my age. Don't eat like my generation. If you're younger, a younger subscriber, eat like your great-grandparents ate, or your great-great-grandparents ate. Eat like they ate in the 1800s or the early 1900s. These are the things I shoot for. I do some better than others. Like I told you, I'm great at some of them, the calories. I'm horrible at some of them, the vegetables, but I'm going to be better. I think that's everything I have for you. But if I think of more, I'm planning on some, like maybe a kind of Fitness Friday thing when I have something to say. Maybe not every Friday, but just, we'll see how this one goes. We'll see how y'all like this one. If you have questions or comments, put those down below. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Y'all have a good day.